All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the September 28th, 2023 Green Valley Special Utility District Board of Directors. It is now 9:03. First of all, I need to make an announcement. There is a slight misprint, adding a meeting code that is erroneous. David has updated the calendar with the correct information and the passcode. But the second meeting invite, the 245612, is invalid. All of the other information is correct as posted. I'd like to establish a quorum. We are missing one person, Mr. Britt King.
Yes, with the excused absence and notification that Britt King gave us, I'll make a motion to excuse Britt from this meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. King is excused. Would y'all bow your heads with me for our invocation? Heavenly Father, come join us in our meeting. Bless our hearts, our minds to serve you and your people. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. GVSUD welcomes public participation. If you're unable to attend the meeting, a written comment can be emailed or delivered to GVSUD's Public Information Officer with your name and the topic or agenda item that you wish to address to Tracy Ratmund, or delivered to the district's office located at 605 FM 465, Marion, Texas. Written comments must be submitted and received no later than 3 p.m. on September 27th. 2023. Please remember that public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Time may not be shared or ceded to another person. We have no one here for public comments. Do we have any emailed comments? No?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Moving on to item D, consent agenda. All items listed below are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the board and will be approved by one motion. There will be no discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered and action taken as necessary as part of the order of business. Approval of the items below: 1, board meeting minutes; 2, financial report; 3, cash investment report, statement of account balances; 4, balance sheet; 5, check detail. All from August 31st and the board meeting from the August 21st meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the consent
Mr. Cooper, I'd
agenda?
like to pull items D2, 4, and 5, please.
Mr. Cooper, actually, the board does not have D2 and D4. There's been some inaccuracies in those reports, and I chose not to hand that out today. I think we sent an email earlier last week that I was gonna hand those out today. We're in the middle of our conversion from our old system, Logic system, to our new NCIS or NISC. I forget the acronyms. And I discovered some inaccuracies last night I'm not comfortable with. I don't want to hand you a report that's not correct. So if you would allow me to get those corrections made, get it to you, but bring it back to the October board meeting for your approval.
So which items do we need to remove, Mr. Allen?
D2 and D4.
D2 and D4.
One thing that I'll mention now, that the budget report may look a little different, as well as the balance sheet may look a little different than what we're used to seeing because of different formats, the two systems.
Okay.
But Pam and Heidi are working on that as we speak, and we'll get those corrected and get it to you.
So I will, based on that, withdraw my motion. And then,
Still
so,
for item 5.
so we're just going to not take action on D2 and D4.
We need to
They've got to be
tab-
tabled
we need
because
to
they still
table it.
Will have to be approved at the next meeting.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to table item D2 and D4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so items D2 and D4
And
are
I-
tabled.
And I'd like to pull D5, please, for quick discussion.
Right, pull item D5, so we still have,
I'll make a motion to approve D1 and D3.
Second.
I have a motion to approve D1 and D3 And motion and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Sherman, D5.
Yes, I'm trying to keep my notes up here. We're rocking and rolling there. In the check register, we have several reimbursements. I know the board took action on a credit card policy that also increased the number of actual physical cards. It was my understanding we were not going to have staff, using their personal bank accounts to purchase things and then go for reimbursement. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, that is correct, what you just stated. We have yet to get those credit cards established. We're still reviewing different providers. Have not landed on one that we've signed up with yet, but we hope to do that here soon. We try to limit the employment using their personal funds. I don't like the reimbursements either. I just don't like the way that looks.
Yeah,
When you have
nothing
a
looked
report like
outrageous
this-
on the report. It was just something that, we took action on.
That's
with the
correct.
Policy. So if you're still implementing it, that's a good enough answer for me. And then I did have one question on the pest control. In this past month, a vendor contacted me and said they'd put in for it, never heard back. And I didn't know anything about getting a pest control contract, but we've got pest control on here. So have we entered into a
We're
pest
using the
control?
same company we've used next door at the
Okay.
old office. We just brought them in, have them doing this office as well.
So it's not a new,
I guess it would be an increase in cost to us, but it's not so much a new vendor and a new company. We stay with the same company and just added that to the cost. We still review the old building, keep it up for all the varmints and everything else that could come in over there. So it was just continuation of what we
yeah, no, it's
had.
definitely something we need to do. We can't have scorpions and mice running around in the board
Right.
meeting, but, and I'm not jabbing anything. I haven't seen scorpion or mice. It's just a question that I'd received and I noted it on the check register. If anybody else, any other vendors put in for interest in it, at least make contact with them and let them know we're going to stick with.
That must have been months ago because it's been since we moved in. So I'll look back at our records and go. from
I'll
there.
get with you outside of the meeting.
Okay.
Maybe give you a name.
Be great.
But that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Sherman, would you like to make a motion to approve D5?
Yes, make a motion to approve item D5.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item D5. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, here updates on the following items from Green Valley SUD General Manager, staff, engineers, and committee chairs. Take action as necessary. Item 1, business and operations, General Manager updates. Mr. Allen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. My update this morning is something we've been working on for a while. Is years ago in the early 2000s, we were installing a type of meter we call the touch read. And for the last several years, and we had quite a few of those in our system, for the last several years, we've been working to get those out of our system. And as of yesterday afternoon, we have all touch reads out of our system now, which is a milestone for Green Valley because we probably had several thousand of those out there. And so over time, we've been at so many per year we've been getting out of our system. And those meters are probably 20 years old. And so I'm really happy to report on that. The other part of that is regarding meters is Philip is working on the RFQ for the RFIs. And we hope to get that out fairly soon. And so we can go to that system this fiscal year. And if you remember during our budget preparation, we had a quote from our current vendor that we based our budget off of. We're trying to stay within that budget number. Anything we get back on the RFIs will be brought back to the board for approval before we pull the trigger on that. And that's all I have. I'll let the operation report and the other reports coming in part of my reports to y'all.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions, directors?
I have one, well, maybe two. IH-35 TxDOT coordination. I don't know if I didn't see anything specific under the engineers reports, but I wanted to ask you under this one. I'd seen some minutes for IH-35 coordination, and in the Green Valley section, it said we're, understaffed and we're very busy and we're going to be hiring a consultant to help with that effort.
We would use our existing consultants. I think Gary's working with Gabriel on that.
Is that under your question? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll defer to there. And then last month, we said we were going to have an update on the reuse project.
That's not ready to bring back to the board. We hope to bring that. I had planned on it this month, but we kicked that to next month because of some changes to the agreement at last minute. that I was not prepared to bring to y'all.
Is the agreement that's going to be brought to us what we've already discussed and what we're expecting?
Yes, to a degree. What the changes that were brought to us this past Monday changed the contract to where it had to be vetted through the New Braunfels before I brought it back to y'all. And they could not get that back and done to me in a timely manner, so we kicked it to next month.
Is the cost what we're expecting?
Cost has not changed, it's just the terms of the contract.
I think you know what I'm asking. Are we going to be expected to pay anything towards that project?
I think we need to look at that when we bring that agreement back to y'all. There's some,
Is this something to talk about? in executive?
there's something we need to talk about that at another time. Yeah, that's not
Is-
something we need to talk about at this moment.
Do we have anything on this agenda where we can do that, Shan, or no?
Well, I think it was pretty clear from Mr. Allen that he's not ready to present it to the board yet. So I think we need to give him time to prep that information and get us back to us so we can ask some smart questions.
I think what could be said out here in the public meeting is that there are some a couple of key remaining issues that are being negotiated between the two parties and we can't present an agreement to you based on what resolution we think we've resolved until the city gets buy-off from its, governing body on some of these changes because it involves a commitment of public funds by the city of New Braunfels.
That's good enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman?
No.
Thank you. Directors, anybody else? All right, let's move on to item II, operations report. Ms. Pam? Sure, your microphone's on.
It's green.
Perfect.
Okay. Good morning. I don't know if you have any questions on the operations report at this time. The Aqua to Edward is still holding about 629.2. The little rains that we've had lately have kind of kept it pretty steady. And otherwise, our water usage has gone up with our CRWA because with it being so dry and hot, a lot of people are using water foundations and other stuff. But otherwise, we're ticking along just fine. I don't know if y'all have any questions.
I have one real quick.
Sure.
What is the lead time if someone requests for a meter to be installed? Are we a week out, 2 weeks out?
That actually does not fall under my department.
Sorry.
Usually we try to get them within a week, depending on the situation. If it requires a meter to be set, with using a backhoe, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but generally I believe our normal routine is about 7 days.
Better than a lot of other locations, that's from what I'm hearing.
Right. If there's a particular meter you're inquiring on, I would have to look in further into that.
Regular home meters.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Pam. Item III, website platform solution memo. Miss Ashland.
Hello, y'all. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to make last board meeting. I unfortunately tested positive for COVID-19. But I want to bring to you 3 different options for a new website. Right now, I'll be presenting 3: Granicus, Municipal Impact, and then improvements for Civic Plus. So Granicus is a public sector solution for website design. It provides end-to-end support, and it makes sure that we're able to complete our mission of transparency for our ratepayers, as they have an incredible archive feature, which allows us to have unlimited storage and unlimited possibilities when it comes to letting the public know what we do behind the scenes. It also allows for what they call Gov records and Gov meetings. Gov meetings is basically where they keep their agenda center. We'd be able to have an unlimited number of what we're uploading. So financial reports, the agenda packet, the actual board packets that you guys get. We'd be able to, again, have a wide array of options. Now, I will say with a bunch of bells and whistles comes a cost. Right now, for their package, we're looking at about $15,000 to $20,000
A year?
a year.
Okay.
The next solution I'll be presenting is Municipal Impact. Municipal Impact provides a very reliable website. We used to use them, according to Pat. We have their smaller version, Rural Impact, but regardless, they have remained consistent in their commitment to be able to help us. Again, this is another public sector website run actually right here in Texas. I talked with the CEO and we were able to kind of get an idea of what our website would look like. It has an incredible robust alert system where the alert pops up on the page and you have to click out of it before it allows you to continue on the page, which means for things like scheduled water outages and other such events where we need to alert the public, they'd be able to see those notifications fast and in real time. The next is and so for reference, that price is about $1,150 a year with a one-time data transfer fee of about $1,800 to $2,000. The only reason I'm giving a range of $2,000 is because they need to look at our back end, and I wanted to wait until a decision was made by the board before we gave them that access to our back end. For Civics Plus, there are a couple different features we could use to make it more user-friendly. So right now, that would be about a $945 year cost for a more robust Notify Me system. Right now, me, Sam, and Katie were on a call yesterday with our account manager. And we think we're getting towards more solutions for being able to make Civics Plus user-friendly. With the options I presented, is there any questions about anything in particular?
Yes. I've been speaking with Cody about some issues with Civics Plus. Are these issues caused by our inability to manage the site or Civics Plus's failures?
Civics Plus. David, would we like to show the website, kind of how to make it more user-friendly as far as the agendas?
Mr. Cooper, I think it's some things with Civics Plus, there were several different packages you could purchase. And each package had a little more ability or less ability to do certain things. And at the time we bought into that company, we chose the package we have now. To change that is additional costs, additional upkeep per year. And we just, in the past, have not chosen to continue that. Because every time we want to add a little bit more or get a little more specific or more expertise, and it seems like it costs us more. Now, they do offer tutorials that throughout the year to give you some more training and stuff, and we've looked into those things. However, if we're wanting to change the format, change the user, be more user-friendly, we'll have to buy other packages to be enabling us to maneuver in that way, in my understanding.
And for reference, that price increase would be from about $8,179 to $12,268. And that would be an annual cost.
5% increase.
I might ask a question real quick too, and this is a little bit of a historical. And I'm framing this in terms of Cibelo's experience. Cibelo was on Civic Plus, and they were using Granicus to record all their meetings. And one of the factors that I heard about was that either Granicus had bought out Civic Plus or vice versa. Now, maybe that changed. But I know Cibelo left it high and dry, and I forget what website they're using now, but are they one and the same, or am I misinformed?
I haven't heard of that, whether Civics owns Granicus or the other way around. Sorry, with my research, I thought they were two separate entities,
Yeah.
given the two separate sites.
Sure.
So let me understand, let me make sure I understand. You're recommending municipal impact over Granicus and over Civics Plus.
Yes.
What are the big positives that the reason why you're recommending them?
Well, we used to use them, and we have to remember that most of our ratepayers, the single focus for the website is they just want to pay their bills. So it makes that the forefront of what we're able to do. We'd be able to have control over our design. Currently with Civics, it's an extra $4,000 a year. Some of those include one-time fees. It's about $3,000, I think, annually, if we want to design our own website. They come with templates. Civics does not. They also are able to make sure, because I asked if we decide to do the whole board packet that we give to y'all, would you have that capacity? And they said yes. So we'd be able to have a more robust agenda where we can see everything, minutes, financial reports until audited, everything. We'd be able to have unlimited subpages. We would be limited to 5 tabs, but as you can tell, that's what we already have. So that's not really a big thing that I'm worried about. Other than that, they would have a more robust help system. And from what I've heard from past users, so I reached out to a company who uses the smaller version Rural Impact, and they say they love it. I'm imagining with this more upscale package that we'd be able to really manage everything in a more cohesive way and also make it more user-friendly.
So I have a question. So in your your notes, it talks about that this municipal impact is run by 2 Dallas women. So are they gonna have the capability with their team, crew, whatever you want to call it, to control us and everybody else that they're controlling, or however they?
Absolutely. They provide hosting. They actually outsource their hosting to a different third-party company. The 1,150 price does include hosting, so nothing to worry about there. They also have unlimited bandwidth, so I'm not really worried about anything potentially causing our website to be less functional, or the fact that it's a smaller company. I don't have any fears about it affecting our website at all.
Okay, and the next thing is you are also recommending the other one, the G word, however you say that.
Yeah.
Why do we need to have 2 of them?
Of what?
You want us to use municipal impact, but you also are recommending as a backup, we are also recommending the other one,
Granicus.
Granicus.
Did I get that right?
Yes, I'm recommending that as a backup. The good news about Rural Impact is that it is a kind of no strings attached website platform. As you can tell, flip through your packet, you'll see a flyer that I received from them.
What does it, show us what it
who?
looks like.
The flyer is from who? Is that at the very back?
Yes, that would be at the very back.
Very
You'll see a
back.
green and blue flyer.
Got it.
Provided this flyer?
That would be provided by Municipal Impact. This was sent to me directly from the
very
CEO,
back of
so I
the-
imagine it's the most up to date. As you can tell, it's, a money back guarantee. There's no contract, so if we
Oh, there it is.
decide, in that we don't like this, we can have a fallback, and we don't have the same penalties as Civics Plus, where we're in a binding contract, we'll have to pay a fee, et cetera. So
I don't think we're asking for y'all to approve anything today. This is just a report, kind of where we
Yeah,
are.
because I'm very confused by it.
Yeah.
Well,
We still have some things to clarify.
Another,
We do have,
please finish going.
we have, we're still in contract with our current provider. And so even if we made took a vote today, we would still have to see our contract out or either pay the money to get out of the contract. I don't think we want to do that. But so we still have time to research this in more detail and maybe actually have samples on the screens for y'all to see the differences. This was just kind of a report today to kind of what we're doing, where we're headed with that. And we may continue looking for additional sites.
I definitely think we need to continue to look. I think Civic Plus has issues, we have had issues, so I think you're going in the right track to find us something that will benefit all the ratepayers and the website and all the other stuff.
And I won't need to go down into the details of the detailed questions, but I don't personally think we need to waste a whole lot of time working with Civics Plus because we've experienced
Agreed.
them before. So I want to continue spending time talking to them. But you guys do what you need to do, but I don't need to see anything from them moving forward.
Well, another factor that I remember, and here again, it's focused on what Cibolo used to use, because that's what I've been exposed to. They use Civic Plus along with Granicus. And when I talked to their IT department, they indicated that Granicus was a physical on-site instrument that sat in their IT racks. And the recording was captured on that instrument. So it would require, unless that's changed, because it's been about a year and a half, that would require a physical Granicus instrument sitting in our IT racks. And I don't know what the numbers would be from that. And I'm not too keen on that either. I'm more in line with web hosting.
And when you come to us with a final recommendation that takes board action, what I'm going to be looking for is a very clear distinction of cost, existing cost, option A, option B, option C, total cost. There's a lot of numbers, not all of these have their actual proposal. Maybe we haven't received them yet since this is not the final action item. But I want to see all their proposals. I want to be able to compare that they're all apples to apples. And that I also want to see examples. You reference in here, one of these municipal impact has worked with providing service to other SUDs and MUDs in Texas. If they have references, I want to know who they are and then maybe get them out in advance to us so we can take some time and review their product for X SUD elsewhere and see what it looks like. So it's got a little bit of work, a little bit of cleanup work to go before I'd be ready to take action on it. What is our time frame, Pat, that we have to work through with existing?
Sam, we reviewed this yesterday. I think it's part of we have one contract coming up in December. We're trying to determine now, should we not renew that, which is my thought, not to renew that December. We're trying to figure out what do we lose if we don't renew that one. I'll let you take it from there, Sam.
We do have two contracts with Civics Plus, one for the website itself, and the other one is for the uploading of the agendas and so forth. The one for the uploading of agendas, that one expires on December 18th of this year, and that was the focus of our meeting yesterday, was to better understand their itemization of the contract. And what was part of that renewal, what we were getting for that, and any other features that maybe we were overlooking and not utilizing to its full potential that could possibly help us with the concerns of the website not being as user-friendly as it could. So that's when we were told about the tutorials, which I believe that a lot of us knew that, but being that we have had changes in this department, want to make sure everybody was on the same page and where they could locate that. The other contract that already went into effect, that was in July, and that contract will expire next July. So, and we do have to give 60-day written notice prior to the expiration of the contracts.
Is the uploading contract that expires in mid-December, is that, once it expires, is that month to month, or is that we would have to pick up a full?
It's an automatic renewal
for the
if
full
we
term?
don't cancel.
My suggestion would be to check and see if we could pick up enough additional contract on that to make it match up with the other, so that if we choose to do something different, we can turn one off and turn one on, and it's smooth. Because if there's two different you know, that's not going to go right.
Right, right. And that was actually a follow-up email that I sent to the gentleman, Eric, that we were talking with yesterday. He's our sales rep for that, and that was one of my follow-ups with that. How do we get those to line up together
Yes.
for July?
If we have a 60-day notice requirement, we're getting close. You know, there is some urgency on this.
Exactly. I also asked if we didn't renew that one in December, what's the impact to our system? Are we able to get a smaller, area that it can facilitate in with a July? So I'm looking at all the avenues to see how we can get the contracts to mirror, as you said, Nick, and to make sure that we understand any type of impact that it may cause if we're not able to do the renewal, because then that's going to offset us again.
Said that the first contract that expires in December is for website and agenda placement.
The contract that expires in December is for the agenda uploads that gives us the space and the ability to upload all the agendas and so forth.
Why do
Correct
we
me
have
if I'm wrong.
Why do we have that? So this is my question, is why do we have a web server that does not allow us to upload our own information? And why do we have to have a third party?
Can I get her to finish answering the question? What were the timelines and the contracts?
The timelines on the contract that allows us to upload all of our agendas is December 18th of this year.
And then the website,
The other contract is for website security, sends a type of alerts, those types of things. That one expires towards the end of July of next year.
thank you. I apologize, Mr. Hendricks. I just wanted to make sure.
So this is my question. Why do we have to pay a third party to be able to upload stuff to our own website that we're paying another company to host for us? I have never heard of that, other than, I'm going to say it, just sheer laziness or the ability for a company just to mess us over on uploading. I own 3 different websites. Never once have I had to pay a third party to upload my own information to my own websites that I own, and that is through GoDaddy. I have one through GoDaddy and one through Wix. Wix is a little bit more expensive, but neither one of them have ever once required me to have a third party and pay them to upload my content. Now, I could do it to be super easy. If I just wanted to make a video and have someone just look at my video and then put it up on my own website, that's why I'm paying for them. But I feel that uploading agendas and uploading our own meetings and everything should be something that we're doing here in-house. We shouldn't have to. That's why we have a PR person. We shouldn't have to have a third-party company that is doing this for us. So my next question is, how much do we pay for this third-party company that is expiring in December, which we have to come up 60 days prior to try and cancel? How much do we pay them?
We pay them currently almost $8,000 a
How
year.
about we stop doing that and we start paying me to do it? I know it's completely unethical, but you see what I'm saying?
I'm going to point out James
$8,000.
is joking here, you know.
Yeah, I'm joking. So nobody take that to heart. But $8,000 to basically have a nerd like me sit in my bedroom on a laptop and upload GBSUD's agenda and put it up on our website a year is a very sweet gig. And I would probably step down from this and start doing that because it would be so much easier. But what I'm trying to beat on this is the just sheer foolishness that we are even contemplating renewing this contract. We need to find, and if we have 60 days to cancel this, we need to find out really freaking fast how to upload our own agendas without paying $8,000 to a third-party company to do it. When it is simple as a free program called Qt FTP, that is the most core, most basic way to upload something to your website. It's completely free. It's called Qt FTP. You can take your agenda, you have it go exactly to what page you want, you press upload, and in 3 seconds, bam,
Hey,
you
James,
press F5 on your computer and you're done.
let me add some background here. So and jump in if I'm wrong, Pat, because it's possible. I believe we went with Civics Plus when we had Vincent Communications was working with us. They recommended this. I never thought that it was well researched and thought out by them. And then we were in, is that accurate?
Yeah,
Vincent recommended this?
there's 2 things here. We went with Civics Plus with the original contract just for the website. At one point in time, the board wanted to have a board portal where they could utilize that portal for board members only. And to get to that level, we had to buy into the package or a contract to some, and I don't have all the details of that. This has been 3 years ago. And so we never did utilize that because the board members changed and decided, we don't want to do that. It's too much trouble. It changes the formats of our documents and stuff. So it was not even user friendly on our end. But we were locked in that contract. It's my goal to get away from it, both of them. And then what we were saying, what we're determining now, between now and time, we're going to give notice that we're not renewing that. How we're going to operate without that other contract? How does it impact us? I think we'll be fine. Even if we don't renew that, we'll still be able to do what we need to do to a degree. To getting our agendas posted, that's our main goal, is to figure that out. What happens if we don't renew it? And that's what we talked about this past several days. So we hear you. We're not satisfied with this. No, we're not happy with what we have. My goal is to move away from Civics Plus. Whether we go with what's recommended or shown today or something new, we'll have to bring that back to you.
And James, that's the more refined way of basically what I was saying is, I hear you. You're getting the full concept of the silliness of this, but this was something that we were in contract with, that we're at a point where we can get away from it. And I do think we need to put some urgency on this, because if we get locked into another year, nobody's going to be happy about it. So
Well, we're not gonna let that happen.
No.
Plus, Mr. President, I perish the thought of Mr. Hendricks sitting in his bedroom in his pajamas, uploading stuff. I don't know how I'm gonna get that thought out of my mind today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
and I hadn't had a chance to speak to James about that, but that's my notes right here. Has James reviewed this? Like,
Well, yeah,
and if you, I'm sure Mr. Hendricks would volunteer to be of assistance. And maybe not in his pajamas from his bedroom, but
Thank you.
And James, we'd appreciate your input as we travel through this, we may knock on your door for suggestions or even including you in our conversations with where we're headed.
To be clear, all the ones that we're checking, they will allow us to upload, I assume, correct, without this third party. And actually, just for fun, Civics Plus will let us do it. I've already checked. It's just the fact that we're not doing it. I don't know why. I didn't even realize we were paying the $8,000 to have someone do it for us. But Civics Plus will let us do it without this third party. We're just flushing $8,000 right now. It's just a matter of how do we do it? Someone needs to know how we do it and we can stop flushing the $8,000. So
Agreed.
I'm definitely gonna be telling the board, we don't need this.
So unfortunately, though, we have to take action today on this matter because 60.
Just so
We don't.
Well,
This is
no,
informational.
hold on.
Oh, you're talking about the contract.
hold on.
Yeah.
60 days is October the 19th, which is a Thursday. So we will not be having our meeting before that deadline to make an action then. So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we need to address that part of the matter today so that they can get direction on what they need to do going forward to meet that 60-day clock.
That's a great point. Pat, you said, and Mr. Sherman's suggestion, see if we could extend it month by month or at least through the July.
Do we even need it?
I don't think we need it.
My goal is to get rid of it if we don't need it and to still have ability of what we have after we don't renew it, the maneuver, and that's what we're trying to determine now.
Do we have to pay the full December amount if we give them notice? Or is there do we get back charged, kind of rated pay? We're cutting service now. We don't need 2 more months to pay y'all.
We would still be required to pay all the way through the end of that contract.
Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion that we direct staff to provide the 60-day notice for the uploading the agenda service specifically to terminate that agreement.
Can we put a caveat if necessary? Allow them to
I think,
develop the disagreement,
The month to month.
yeah.
I don't think we need the month to month. I think Ashlyn and David are more than capable of uploading that information without us paying more beyond that point.
Ask them.
Yeah, that's.
Either one of you,
Something-
Ashlyn or David, can you
My
upload this
only-
information without the third party program?
My only concern is that and I could be wrong about this, I don't know about the back end of Civics, but I believe it's providing like a cloud for all the archiving, and I don't know what the limit is on each page that we have.
So do we make it with a caveat of an option that if they can or cannot perform month to month? I mean, we gotta have a solution today. So, it's either one, we give them the notice with the contingency that if they are allowed to do month to month terms until the July next contract's due,
Then we can
then we continue that route.
add that.
Just to give them the ability.
Just to give them the ability to say but we don't know the costs associated with that too. Because if you do month to month, I'm pretty sure there's a premium that allows that availability in the contract versus. True, but is it cheaper to auto renew versus month to month? We don't know that information.
Staff, please.
So-
any-
Yeah, I think we have the direction from the board. We still have some answers to get from them. We know what we need to do.
We don't have an action to terminate the agreement.
Do I need an action to terminate a contract none of us like?
I don't think so, not this.
That saves us money? I don't think I do.
Not to terminate, but to spend money, we would need.
Yeah,
to-
if we go to month, if they even offer a month,
Right.
month, should we have to travel that way? It could be a substantial charge per month. Any month to month usually costs you a little more.
Okay,
So,
so let me think of how I have to reword this real quick. So I'll retract the previous motion. So then I'll make a motion that we notify with the 60-day clause that we're terminating the Civics Plus uploading part of the agenda section on that contract December 18th, with the caveat that if they will allow us within a financial reasonable expectations of a month-to-month payment that is not costing more than the yearly payment, we move forward with that option. So,
I'll second.
I'm pretty sure everybody's understanding. It's hard to articulate this one because there's so many things that go along with it, but I know,
To the point, does it need to be articulated if Pat has the ability to?
Pat, you get our
If
direction.
we're spending more money, that has to come back to the board.
And that's
Canceling
what
the
I'm.
contract has nothing to do with us.
Well, it's the notice, right? So we're allowing them to say, yes, we're okay with that notice instead of auto renewing. And then hitting us up for X amount of dollars.
More
We're
money,
going to a
right.
month to month to line up with July so that we can end everything come July. And then by then we'll have a solution to move and transition between
'Cause I don't
July.
wanna be double billed.
I don't want to be double
Auto
billed
renew,
and
you
I,
have to sign up
no.
for a new website.
But I don't want to be paying a premium to do month to month if it's cheaper because it's what, December to July is what, 7 months? So at that point, is 7 months more expensive than 12 or is it cheaper? So with that direction, whatever the cheaper the option is, please.
And I think we do need to take some action because if Pat were to remove and cancel a contract for a service we have to have, we would then have to go get a new contract. And we don't have a firm price on that, so it may be more. We may end up spending more on the new contract, but we know we don't want to continue with Civic Plus,
Right.
or at least I don't personally. So we have a motion. I mean, I seconded it. I think, does everybody understand where John's going with that?
Thank you.
Right.
Sorry, I'm not more clear. Do we take a vote?
Gonna have to restate the motion. I'm sorry.
You're
No,
fine.
he's right.
You're absolutely right. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so retract that motion. Let me see here. So I'll make a motion that we go with the cheapest of the options. Whatever, with the notification that we gotta line up with July. If it's cheaper to go that way, as a auto renew, that's fine. If it's not, go month to month. But I don't know.
Yeah, what's your motion, John?
Well, he had it and you made him say it again.
I mean, probably, maybe, I don't know.
The staff has a recommended motion.
Oh.
Somebody standing up there.
Oh.
James, you want to reword
we
this
have- we
one?
do have to
I'm
do something.
trying to find the words for this one. I just can't seem to spit it out. But you guys know what I'm trying to get at, so.
I think staff's got a pretty clear direction from us.
Yeah,
Don't renew
They're
this
not gonna
unless you
spend any
absolutely
money
have to.
without coming back to us.
Yeah, don't remove this unless you absolutely have to, which is going to say one of two things. It's either going to say, one, Civics Plus doesn't let us upload our own stuff, which means we got to get rid of them. Or it's going to say, two, between our two IT people, neither one of you can figure out how to upload to a website, which I'm not saying that because that is an absolute insult to an IT person, not knowing how to upload to a website. So that's not what I'm saying. But given those two scenarios, that is what you're proposing is if we are going to hit this 60 days and you guys cannot figure out how to open up our own website or how to upload to our own website, then unfortunately we'll have to continue it just because we're backed into a corner. However, with the 17 days that we have before then, every endeavor should be made to figure out how to upload information to a website by our staff, not using a third party. If that is done, we
Okay.
can cancel.
I got it. I got the words. I got it. Okay, so.
This time.
I apologize, seriously. I really do to everybody that's having to listen to me right now. Okay, so I make a motion that option one is to find out if we can do month to month. Okay, option two, or next step after that is the cost associated with the month to month to auto renewal ratio. Okay, once you find those two things, depending on that, you would then proceed with the notification to terminate with a 60-day notification. So those 3 steps. You got to do the first 2 to get to the third one.
Like you
So-
can't-
They're making decisions off of the first 2, and then to get to the third one, based on the first 2 discoveries, does the third one need to be done?
I got it, John.
You see what I'm saying? All right, go ahead.
So I'm gonna make a motion.
I'll retract it.
I'm gonna make a motion
I've got to be able to write this down.
that we
so-
direct the general manager, take action on the website hosting and the uploading contracts as discussed by the board.
Nice.
Everybody happy with that?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to direct general manager.
Approved.
Okay,
We're good. Did somebody record
Sorry,
that? Hang
Cody,
on,
I
did
know
somebody
you're gonna
record
have to
that?
go back to that
back
video
back
and be
on
like,
track,
okay,
guys.
Yeah. come on.
Where, so We have a motion and a second to direct the general manager to follow through on the potential cancellation of a contract.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That-
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Apologize.
I have one last question.
Sorry about that.
Sounds good. I have one last clarification, so.
Okay, good. One last question. And I hope the answer is yes. Do we own our domain or are we leasing our domain?
We own our domain.
We're sure. We're absolutely sure
I'm absolutely sure we went
that
through.
we own gbsud.org and we are not leasing from anybody else.
No, we're not leasing from
Okay.
Civics Plus. Yeah, I actually want to say we go through GoDaddy for domain.
Okay,
Yeah, so that's owned completely separate from the site. Any website change would not affect our domain in any way.
okay. I just want to make sure we have transfer authority because that could be expensive.
But yeah,
Also, Steve Cooper suggestion. I've had my own frustrations working with Cody on Civics Plus and the challenges of navigating the website. Please continue to work to resolve those issues so we can make sure that our ratepayers have as easy access as we can give them.
absolutely. Me and Sam were working with our account manager yesterday to get through those issues, as we saw no support from tech support. Yeah, so we're working with our account manager right now. And then as a final suggestion, I was wondering if we could reform the IT committee, as I want the board to be hand in hand with us in this movement to do probably one of the biggest projects of moving our entire site and having a site we all can agree on. That's the bigger thing, because I've heard from too many entities over the last 2 months that don't like their current website provider. So I feel the more eyes on this, the better.
Got it.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure that happens.
Sounds good. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
sir.
Ms. Ashley. Thank you, Sam. All right, any other questions, concerns about the website?
No,
Thank you. Phew. All right, Miss Sam, policy status memo.
Morning again, board members. There are a couple of updates to the memorandum. One being that the electronic device policy, I originally was hoping to bring that forward to you today. However, there were some more edits that needed to be done before we can have that vetted. So I just didn't want to bring that to you when we still had some concerns about it. I do have it projected for next month. It will definitely be here for you. The edits that we needed to make are done. And so we just have to have Pat review that and then I'll off to the attorney for vetting. The next date change is the operating policy. We have that, or I'm sorry, the personnel policy rather, is December, the end of December. Just because we've had so many influx of changes and short policies, those are going to morph into the overall personnel policy. And I'm also working on a workshop for you guys for next month. So I'm requesting that to be extended to the December. That's my new projected date. And you'll see that the operating policy, given the domino effect of the electronic device policy and personnel policy, I have pushed the operating policy to February. That doesn't mean that I'm not trying to meet anytime earlier. These are just, again, projected. Any questions about the updates?
Yes. And I'm going to beat you up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, so we've been asking for policies for quite some time. I understand policies that are coming from scratch can take a while. However, I believe most of these policies, we've already had some kind of a semblance of a policy on hand. Why is it taking so long? And you just mentioned a TBD date of February. The very next one, we have a TBD date of October 26th, which is almost a month away. And it's an electronic device policy. I'm not saying that it would be a perfect fit for our company, but I could pull out my phone and I could Google electronics device policy. And by the end of the day, I could have something that would work for us. Now, I understand you're busy. I understand this isn't the only thing that you do. But policies, maybe you need to have like, and I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm just saying that policies are something that shouldn't be this hard. And we're talking months to come up with policies that as a company, we should be operating on a daily basis for. The credit card policy was one thing. I mean, you're in the military, you could take a simple United States government credit card policy, delete federal government, put in GBSUD, and that would be 1,000 times more viable for our company than what we had right now. Just steal. beg, borrow, and steal. Steal every policy you can find from any company you can find. It'll make your job easier, and most of it's form fill anyway. So that's my question. You just gave us the TBD of February. And does anyone on the board, maybe I'm just out in left field, think that a policy should take 4 to 5 months to come up with?
Okay, I would like to respond.
Of course, go for it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So I wish it was that simple to Google. In theory, I'm sure that is how a lot of you may think. That in theory, that it's just go to Google and start printing words on paper. It's not. And I value y'all's time, and I'm not going to put together something that is going to be a Band-Aid and present to the board. My work product, I'm very passionate about that. And I want to make sure that I use your time wisely, and I cross all Ts, dot Is. I'm also looking at the Texas Workforce Commission. I can't just take a federal policy and adopt that to a public entity. It doesn't work the same. The rules are different. So therefore, I have to vet all of that and try to put together the best work product I can, and also then send it to the employment lawyer to make sure that I'm not crossing any boundaries that are not allowed. So yes, I do have about 100 projects that I'm also working for GVSUD. On top of that, I am also doing policies, litigation. I think there's a 2-page list that I provided about all my duties. So yes, that does take some time. But again, I'm not here to put a policy to you guys without it properly being vetted and given it the attention that it needs.
Of course.
I do apologize that it's taken me a little bit longer, but I'm trying to be transparent and give you the exact information that I have, and to let you know where I am with it. Thank you.
I have additional comment. I'm kind of moving forward a little bit for what I was gonna say under bylaws committee. So we have the bylaws committee still date to be determined. Our committee's run through the whole set of bylaws, I believe, gotten everything that we need to do, and then there were some homework items that you need to review. So I hear you're very busy, but can we put down a date for the bylaws review? Not in the moment, just let's get a date when you think the bylaws will be reviewed by you.
Respectfully, Nick Sherman, I haven't set a date because I'm not the chair of that committee.
Okay, well, I can set a date, but I want to have a date that you can comply with, that with all your other items you've got going on. Do you have a suggested date? Because I can set a date right now, but I want to have, I didn't realize you were waiting on a date to be determined by the chair of the committee, and I can do that. But I heard everything you just said, and I want to make sure you have adequate time to do the other items that you're doing for Green Valley and review what we've already gone over in the committee meetings for the bylaws. So I'm
Can I
asking
suggest
for a
you take
date.
that conversation offline?
I'd like a date today. I mean, or tell me when you can have a date.
I can have the section 1 through 3 that you wanted me to make edits based on the meetings. I can have that to you in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Be fine. And then, so we will then circle back as the committee, have one more meeting, and then we can put a date for board adoption. Is that correct?
Whatever date you want to set up for the committee, I'll make sure I have it ready for review for the committee on that date.
Again, I'm asking for your input so that I don't set a date that stresses the other work you're doing. So I'm trying to work with you. I'm trying to.
Right, no, and I had said I could have that for you in 2 to 3 weeks. So that's my projection to you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll get our calendars cleared out. We'll get this taken care of.
Thanks.
Policies are important, I agree. But we have many, many other things that we're doing, just the operation of the district that we have to maintain as well. But we'll clear our calendars and make this happen and get the policies to you. It's come under my direction.
So real quick, just hearing, what she has going on, can we reexamine her workload just to make sure she's not?
That comes under my direction, not y'all's.
I know.
I'll take care of that.
Please look at that.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thank you, directors. Item 2, board committee meetings, here meeting highlights and updates. Bylaws committee, Mr. Sherman, you just spoke to
Yeah, I
that?
just spoke on it. We've gone through the whole thing. The committee has good rewrites on most everything. There's a couple items that we've left highlighted that we want to have the board as a whole have discussion on. There was the couple items that we didn't have, unanimous agreement by everyone on the committee. We've left highlighted for, the whole board's consideration when we do review those. So I'm gonna work with Sam on getting a final date for our one last look through, and then we'll get that back to the board for hopefully an adoption of a revised bylaw as soon as possible. If Christie, it won't be before November, it doesn't sound like, but we'll send it to you if you want to look at it.
I'd like to request that we get that information to the board as soon as possible
Yes.
because it will require a supermajority to be able to change any of the bylaws or make any additions or. So please make sure and get
Yes.
that information to us far in advance of the meeting that you're looking for approval.
And then, James, we need to have you send out to the rest of the board
7 days in advance, written
the
notice.
adjustments. That's one of your duties.
Which one? What?
Your secretary, so you have to send out a written notice to all board members 7 days before it gets put on the agenda for the bylaws.
Oh, for the
For
bylaws,
an adjustment.
change,
to the
yeah.
for
bylaws.
the approval. Or,
Yeah, for a
Okay.
proposed adjustment, yeah. And
So I
I'll
have
make
a-
sure you have it.
So I have a suggestion.
Bill,
Microphone, your microphone's on.
sorry about that. My bad. Where's my sign? The written notice stipulation, can that be, and it may be a legal reading, can that be delivered via email? Or it has to be handwritten and delivered in person?
I'm going to default to staff. I don't know the
Yeah,
technicality.
I don't either. That's the reason I'm raising the
It
point.
should just be an email notification
Well, but we need
with the red
clarification from
receipt.
Well,
staff.
Shan's sitting right there, so
Right at my fingertips. But I'll get that for you and I'll provide it to staff. I also just want to say, when we're talking about the operating policy and the bylaws, I really need to have a copy of when those things look like they're ready to go final, and I need to have a little bit of breathing room to go through it and make any suggested revisions. Yeah, you bet.
So I have a suggestion. So since I've been on the board for so long, the bylaws, are they going to be sent out, Nick, like in an email with the original bylaws and then a highlighted like changes of the bylaws?
I believe so. We haven't gotten the revised full draft yet. We've had several meetings where we've gone through different segments and made notes about how we're going to do it. But I think it would be a good idea to strike anything that's removed and then have,
What's going to be added or, yeah, because that way we can see the difference. Like you
I
said, I might not be here, but for the new board members, that would be helpful to see what was there, what's being removed, what's going to be added. So it's just a
Agreed.
suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you. Executive committee, nothing new to report at this time. Item 3, CRWA board meeting, ma'am.
I'm speaking, remember?
Oh, goodness, I'm sorry. I promised you I would let you do that. I apologize, Christie. One of the changes that we've made is not to list every single committee because many times there aren't any reports from those committees. So instead, we're going to open it up to, if there is a committee report, to be able to give it at this time. Ms. Miller has requested that she give her report on facilities committee.
So I just wanted to thank every single staff and employee that put on the grand opening. It was a huge success. There was a lot of positive comments. So I wanted to thank Pat for leading such a great crew, and thank you for all you do. And our facility meeting is, the next facility meeting is October 2nd, just to give everybody an update.
Pat, did you have any idea how many showed up for the grand opening?
A lot.
Quite a few, because we had some folks that did sign in, but we had some folks come in the sides and the back that did not sign up. So we probably had 100, 150, you think, 140,
Great turnout.
at least somewhere in that number. But I saw a lot of people I hadn't seen in years, so it was really good. I think it was a good day. Haven't had any comments from anybody since that day, so I guess it was okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Miller?
That's it.
All right. Move on to CRWA board meeting. Ms. Miller, would you like to step up on that one?
Okay, meeting started at 6 PM and ended at 7:10. There were 16 board members present. The October 9th board meeting was moved to October 11th at 6 PM due to Columbus Day, so put that on your calendar. Drought report as of September 11th, Canyon Lake levels are at 891.80 feet. At 890 feet, GBRA will issue the second trigger for drought restrictions, which is a 10% reduction in average flow. Legal gave an update on the mediation with Tri-Hydro concerning the generator claim at Wells Ranch Water Treatment Plant. It will be conducted at the very end of October or the beginning of November. President Tim has put together a panel to attend the mediation. The panel will be Vice President Brandon, President Tim, General Manager Kaufman, Steve Cooper, Mr. Wilson, and Steve. I'm not sure how to pronounce that guy's name, so I didn't put it in my notes. They will give a report to the board when there is an outcome. The Budget Committee gave us a report on the 2024 budget. The proposed budget was taken to the Board of Managers. The biggest increase was in personnel. A new operator position and assistant general manager positions were added to the budget. The budget was passed. Mr. Gibbs gave a report on the policy committee, and the personnel policy is almost done. He also gave us an update on the bylaws and that they should have been on the agenda to vote on, but the secretary did not send out the 7-day written notice to all the board members. It was suggested that we complete the master plan as is and not make any more changes to it other than the population demands to ensure accurate numbers. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
And Christy, will you verify the date and time again for me?
October 9th. Oh, no, that was changed from October 9th to October 11th at 6 PM. So it's moved from Monday to Wednesday. And just to let you know, I will have to leave early for that meeting because we had plans to leave the next day early in the morning. And so the meeting was changed. So I won't be there the whole meeting.
And I wanted to recognize Steve for getting on a very important committee. I mentioned that to him after the meeting, but that's, I appreciate him doing that. And then the secretary, did they just, was it just an oversight that they didn't send the information, or did they refuse?
She refused to send it. From what I understood from what Mr. Gibbs said, she refused to send it out. I think I know it's rumors, but from what I heard, it has to do with all the treasurer information that she doesn't agree with.
Oh, I've been sitting in the peanut gallery. And
Yes.
it's been quite
So,
spicy.
I don't want to assume,
Yeah, no,
but
it's-
that's what I'm getting from the conversations that we're having, that's why she's against it, but that she can't do that. Secretary has to do what the board tells them to do, and she was by law legally obligated to send that out to us. Not sure what's gonna happen with that.
And then, as always, please keep an eye on the extra costs that from what I can hear, seem like there are projects, there are things and reasons that all the customers might end up with some additional expense. Channel your inner Nick Sherman and be as cheap as you can be, because that's how we keep our rates as low as possible as well, please.
Mr. Allen, do you have anything to add to the CRWA?
No, sir, I don't. That pretty much you covered it. One thing we are trying to do on the Board of Managers is trying to change that meeting date to where it coincides with the construction committee. So we have the construction committee, a lot of the Board of Managers attend that meeting. And so we have that meeting plus the Board of Managers be able to provide any recommendations to the trustees. We're trying to get back into that format that we had many years ago. It seemed to work pretty well. And so we're trying to get that changed.
What are you trying to change?
For the Board of Managers and the construction committee, the timing of those two meetings
Oh, okay.
prior to the
I got you.
trustee meeting, so we can report to the trustees.
So that they more equally coincide.
Yeah, I just missed what he said.
And make sure everybody understands, I am your CRWA rep. I also sit on the construction committee, and to Nick's point, and Christie's, I've been named to the Tri-Hydro committee, if you call it a committee now too. GSUD is a large user of CRWA and a large partner, so it's important to me. Thank you. All right, move on to item 4, engineers report from Tri-Hydro for water, wastewater construction projects, proposed new development. Mr. Vreeland, oh, no.
Yes. Mr. Vreeland had to deal with some
Taking off a
personnel
few
matters in
pounds.
Austin, so I'm filling in today. There have not been any changes since this was submitted, and are there any questions?
Any update on the reuse irrigation water system project?
As Pat mentioned earlier, that's being worked through with staff and the city to finalize the agreement before.
And then how many projects do you have in the design phase?
Design,
And
believe just the one, or well, it's in bid phase now, the Green Valley Road process.
and then the 725 project? that's
sorry,
the final
yes.
Design phase.
Oh, sorry, yep,
So 2
okay.
designs. Okay.
2 designs, yes.
All right. Any other questions, directors? All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Item 5, engineers report and utility engineers group UEG for water and wastewater construction projects and proposed new developments. Item I, presentation update from UEG Santa Clara wastewater plan expansion phasing sequence. Mr. Montgomery.
Thank you. Good morning. Provided a memo, no updates to the memo. I know there was a question earlier about the 35 Next project. There was a progress meeting every 2 weeks. There was one yesterday afternoon. David, in my office is handling that project, so I didn't get an update last night after the meeting, but I can get you a better idea of what's going on.
I'd just been sent a meeting minutes to review for that project overall, and I noticed Valley said, whoever taking notes, Green Valley said they're understaffed, they're gonna hire MSC, maybe some other consulting firm that I was personally not familiar with, that we had a relationship with. So I didn't know, is that a sub to y'all, or is that something?
No, that must be
we're
an old set of minutes or
proposing to-
something, or they may have mixed them
Yeah,
up, but I can get you the minutes.
I'm not sure what
from
you're
the
talking about.
meeting 2 weeks ago. It's every 2 weeks on Wednesday afternoon.
Maybe whoever was taking the minute
May have.
took
Yeah.
GVEC and wrote
Right.
GVSCV, who knows?
Where we're at with that project is survey has been authorized and they've been out there. We're going through existing easements at this point. There's 3 water lines that are in conflict, and we're trying to eliminate as many of those conflicts without having to move items. But one is a very important water line. It's the 20-inch line that crosses I-35. So the good thing about that is it's fully reimbursable.
Where is that physically located? I don't know offhand.
There's 3 locations. I can bring you a map back. I don't think I show it on my.
Don't worry about it today. Just,
Yeah, I can
it's
get it.
interesting to me to know where the crossings
Yeah,
are.
there's 2 12-inch lines and a 20-inch line that we're targeting.
And they are in conflict, so they will be,
Well, there's some drainage facilities that make a couple of the 12-inch lines. I think the 20-inch, we're going to be able to figure out a way to make it work. It's pretty deep across 35 anyway, but we're doing some potholing to verify all of that. And
but because that's a federally funded.
it's federal,
project,
so
So
it's all.
that is 100% reimbursable,
It is.
but it's work when we've got plenty of other work to do. So
Yeah,
hopefully
absolutely.
we don't.
Yeah,
have
if
to
we can
relocate.
eliminate it, we want to eliminate it without doing the work, just try to not move the physical pipe if we can.
Got a
Allow
quick
for
question real quick. Can you give us an update on Chromex's situation? Are we done with them? We closed out everything?
Yeah, we haven't submitted closeout documents to Water Development Board yet. I'm waiting on some final affidavits from Chromex. I actually received some copies of those yesterday, but I still need to go through them. And I'm waiting on Water Development Board. They've done their final walkthrough, but I haven't seen the report yet. Once I have that report, then I can submit, but we've come to agreement with Chromex within the board's action that was taken last year. Or I
So
guess
as
last
far as the
year, or earlier this year.
LDs, where does that stop? Does it stop when Texas Water Development Board stops their part, or?
No, whenever we issue substantial completion, which we've already
So
done.
we're,
Yeah,
okay,
the lines are in place and they're in service.
right, okay.
So, yeah, all the LDs are, that's stopped at this point.
Okay, and with the remaining funds that are anticipated with that, what is the plan?
We'll be bringing that back to you. There's two projects that we're looking at, but Bolton Road is the priority at this point because we have some requests for service over there.
Okay, when should we anticipate? October, November?
It's probably going to be November by the time we get acknowledgement from Water Development Board that they agree all the closeout. So then we'll have a final number of what's left over.
Sometimes the Water Development Board we'll say, take their time,
Yeah.
maybe go on an extended vacation.
Holidays are gonna come up. and throw it
Holidays.
up, so
Closeout's usually a 4 or 5 month process.
I just want to make sure I'm staying abreast of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then amongst all your other things, your last item, your water acquisition fee, impact fee, and kayak fee work.
Yes.
I know you gave us dates on those. I'm not looking at them, but
Yeah.
I'm eager to get those development fees have not been updated in a while, and
Yeah, I've had a couple meetings with Pat on the kayak fee and we have a good draft of that. We're going back and forth on some numbers on that, but I have the memo set up and what I think the recommendation is going to be. Once we agree and staff agrees on that, then I'll put together the report that backs up. I have all the calculations done, but they're not in a report form at this point. I want to make sure our staff's supportive of what we're coming up with before we finish the report, but we
And
have.
that's
We
gonna
have
be October, November.
the goal is to bring it to the October meeting. We met a couple of weeks ago and we're pretty close. There was a couple other scenarios that Pat asked me to run
Okay.
before we finalize. So we're
Any-
working through those. Any questions on the memo or we can move on to the presentation? David has my presentation to pull up.
Questions, concerns? All right, please continue.
Thanks. I believe it was the presentation. Yeah, your presentation's in the packet, so I'll go ahead and move on. So last month it was, there was a request to do a expansion update. Just a little bit of background, your current permit is 0.25 MGD to 0.625 MGD and then 2.5 MGD. That expires in May 22nd of 2025. So the district will have to turn in their renewal in November or December of 2024. So late next year, we'll be talking about permit renewals. Just a little bit of background on the current phases. There's been 2 phases of funding for the project. In October of 2019, the district secured almost $25 million to build the first phase and the first phase of collection system and lift station and all of those components. All of that's done. And that included the lab and office and a portion of the phase 1A project. In February of 2021, there was a $15,725,000 issuance and that finished phase 1A and the phase 2 gravity line. And that's where those remaining funds will come from, is that $15,725,000 that Mr. Frias just mentioned. Go to the next slide. This is the site plan that was done back in 2020, whenever we did the first phase expansion. We were required to to plat the property. We were in the city limits of City of Cibolo, and we had to go through a site planning process. So the more bold items there are phase 1 projects. You can kind of see some rectangles and circles that are grayed back. That's the expansions. That was a site plan that was based on SBR plant design that has now changed, that we'll talk about later in the presentation. But everything that's darker there is in service today and working as phase 1. The next slide shows a development map. Just want to give you an idea, and it's a little bit challenging to put this on a big screen and make it make sense, but I wanted to show the entire district because it kind of shows how busy development is within the district. The green parcels are water only. You'll see up kind of in the northeast quadrant. That's GBRA sewer area, so that those projects will have sewer, but it's from a different entity. You're just serving water. All of the yellow projects are either contracted or requested service with water and sewer through Green Valley. Everything that's coming down to the Santa Clara sewer shed, we finished the phase 1A, phase 1 and phase 2 pipeline. Altogether, those all of that pipeline is about 13 miles and it ranges from 18-inch to 42 pipe. I think that's about all I wanted to highlight on that one. Just wanted to give you an idea where development is occurring. The next slide, give you a little bit of a taste for where flow is coming from and where service is being committed. Phase 2 currently is planned for a 1.25 MGD. The current package plant, steel basin package plant that's out there today is 0.25 MGD. So we're planning to go to, or we're in design on 1.25. So I broke these down into 3 categories. Current utilization, you currently have 2 customers online. That's Legendary Trails and AW Texas. The second bullet point there is projects that are contracted or in some phase of development. They're platting or getting master plans approved from the various jurisdictions. So AW Texas Phase 2 is actually constructed. They've moved into that facility. So and I hear in the next couple of years, they'll go into their next phase, which is basically doubling their facilities that they have on the ground today. Phase 3, yes, it'll be another 1 million square feet of. Legendary Trails, we have reviewed plans for unit 1 through 4. 1 and 2 are constructed. The others are coming soon. And Austin Track, we've reviewed plans for unit 1 and 2, and they're going through plating approvals with the city of Santa Clara. Grace Valley, we've reviewed and approved units 1 through 3, and we're reviewing unit 4 right now. And that's 246 EDUs or LUEs out of the total contract of 838. So they're moving pretty quickly. They were required to basically put on hold until the Santa Clara collection system was online. That's been done now. So now they can get plat approvals and start going vertical with construction on houses. So we'll have flow from them fairly quickly. Cibolo Farms Unit 1, we've reviewed and approved those plans, and that includes the lift station for the full site. That's a project that will pump over to the Grace Valley collection system, and all of that's been planned and they're under contract. Dove Song Unit 1 and 2, we've approved both of those plans. Actually, Unit 2 is in construction now. If you drive down Santa Clara Road, they've put in sewer and rough cut the roads and and they're working on water facilities and drainage facilities now. Unit 1, they had bid that last year and then put it on hold. It requires about a $6 million or $7 million bridge across the floodplain. I just saw that they opened bids on their bridge again, so they're bringing that one back to life. So I would suspect Unit 1 will start construction fairly soon. They just opened bids within the last week on that one. Hayden Springs Unit 1, we've been going back and forth with them. They're going to have some changes with their master plan. I believe Marion ISD is going to be occupying part of that property, so they're supposed to come back to us here in the next week or 2 to discuss that and a change to their development plan. Still mostly residential, but some for the school. Marion Oaks, they had an approved master plan. They have same developer, different engineers. They've kind of pivoted a little bit on how they want to develop their project. So they submitted within the last 2 weeks a new concept plan to the city of Marion and Guadalupe County. So they're kind of starting over, still the same, roughly the same LUE count, but a little bit different layout of how they want to access their property. So all of those are in process. Go ahead.
Sorry. Can you explain to me why certain numbers are in parentheses and then you have the other ones equaling LUEs?
So the
Which one should we be really looking at?
Well, the one in parentheses is total, that's total contract.
Okay.
And to the right is what units we've approved so far. So there's future units coming that will be.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, the parentheses are total contract.
Okay, so that's total build out of the development expected, but so far what we've approved.
Right.
Is that number. Got it.
Correct. And then there's several, and this is a little bit outdated. I did this presentation last week and we've received some other requests for service, but you have several developments, Stetson Ridge, Stagecoach Road, the Dean track, and a couple of EDC tracks that the city of Cibolo are working on. that we've received applications on recently. So those will be future contracts. The good thing about the EDC projects is once they get to this stage, they usually keep going. They've already vetted their projects, and so I think both of those projects will probably continue on. Next slide. This shows just kind of a breakdown of how we are tracking flow coming into the plant. These are all projects that are actually contracted. There are several of them. AW Texas obviously is in service. Legendary Trails is in service. Ann Austin, Grace Valley, all those ones we just talked about on the previous slide. They're in various stages of planning, and entitling their projects. The fourth column from the left is the percent capacity for the 0.25, so current phase plant that's on the ground today. As you can see, we run out of plant capacity pretty quickly based on what you have available. The next column to the right is the 1.25 MGD phase. And that's showing what their capacity would be, percentage capacities would be at full build out of those projects and then at the units that we've approved. Cumulative column is just adding those up. So if all of just these developments, this represents about 8% of the Santa Clara sewer shed. Just 8% of that sewer shed will have that 1.25 MGD plant at 118% capacity once they develop. The challenge with that is timing, right? We don't have any control over how many homes sell a month, but we have to be prepared for it. So that's the challenge is the 1.25 MGD. We know that's not big enough. At some point in the future, we're going to have to build on, but we need logical steps to build that on. Over to the right, sticking my neck out there a little bit, is putting anticipated dates of when I think those are going to build out. That's completely speculative on just my discussions with developers. That could change if interest rates fall or any number of factors, economic factors that go into home building and development and everything else. We have absolutely no control over that, but that's.
We have any expectations of interest rates falling?
I think we're probably a couple years away,
Yeah.
is my personal opinion, but we've got.
That depends a lot on what happens.
Yeah, we have major elections.
In election cycles, so.
The other thing that I wanted to mention, well, it's the next slide. It's talking about TCEQ rules, 3-month running average, 75% of capacity and 90%. We know with the contracted capacities that you have currently and the future ones that are coming, the 250,000 gallon a day plant has very limited capacity. We're going to blow past that capacity. The 0.25 MGD plant can accommodate 1,020 to basically 1,400 LUEs based on, depending on what kind of flow we see. We're still seeing across all clients with low flow fixtures and those types of things, flow per LUE is dropping, but we really haven't dropped our planning numbers. We still use 245.
What are you seeing on actual flows? Is it in about
We just ran numbers
155
on
range?
2 or 3 different clients the other day and 165, 170.
155 is what I would expect roughly. So yeah, that's right in there with what I agree with.
Yeah, but the thing about that is, and unfortunately, we have to argue with developers and developer engineers a lot about that because they're seeing the same thing as they're throwing the spreadsheet at us and saying, well, these are our actuals, here's our bills. But we have to prepare for a worst case scenario. The other thing is we're building a brand new system, so we don't know what's going to happen upstream.
Well, TCEQ dictated 245 to us because it's a new plant that we don't have years of history to show.
Right.
I mean, wasn't that accurate? TCEQ gave us 245 to use, so it's an easy argument. We have to use 245.
I don't want to go down because it makes you, it requires the developer to oversize some piping. So they may have to go from an 8 to a 10 or something. And anytime we can justify a larger infrastructure, adding onto it, and there's going to be new services coming into it. The argument that we get now is, well, we're fine with building bigger pipe, but who are you paying the oversize? Is Green Valley paying the oversize? I don't see us in the foreseeable future dropping below that 245 gallons per LUE, gallon per day per LUE. I just don't think it makes sense. I think that's a good. Little bit about timing, facility expansion. We're about 18 to 22 months for design and then 22 to 26 for actual construction. We are seeing a little bit of relief in construction on getting some components in. Electrical still an issue, automatic transfer switches, your motor control centers, that type of thing. And transformers, transformers are a big issue on several projects. So we've already had one meeting with GVEC, so we're trying to get ahead of that and know what their schedules are. We actually had a meeting with them the other day. Numbers on this expansion and
So you're talking 4 years.
well, we're burning design time now, so I don't know when we were authorized. I could go back and get that number, but we're burning those months.
Your mic on, Gary?
Yep.
You're not.
But we're in that design time, so yeah, we're not pushing that 18, that's not a sliding scale for that design time. We're using that time right now. In 30%. Was there another question on that? On just
Why
time?
why is design taking so long? Or why is it 2 years in the making versus something should, I would
Looks like
think-
we're completely changing our treatment process.
It is. It's going to MBR, yeah.
And I guess, I'm sorry to jump on your question.
Is that normal?
Design takes a while. I'm curious why we're, just recently we selected one process, we went with it, and now we're doing something completely different. Is there?
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
There's a slide later on. You can go to the next slide, David. Talk about LUEs that we have contracted. There's 5,930 currently under contract, and then additional 1,595 that are feasibilities that have asked for contracts. They're just not executed yet. So that's 1.45 million gallons per day contracted. So we know we're going to have to expand in the future, and that's why your permit goes to 2.5 MGD, and then we'll go larger than that in the future. Contracted parcels and feasibility studies is about 10% of the developable area in the Santa Clara sewer shed. So I thought that was that to show. You're just getting started and pretty significant development area. And then the 2.5 MGD, based on kind of the growth patterns that we're seeing that we don't have any control over, you're probably looking at another expansion, in the early 2030s to go to the 2.5 MGD. Next slide, David. We have to anticipate the growth. We have to stay ahead of it. So we started the expansion late last year. The board approved a bond issuance at the July 22 board meeting for design only. So there'll be construction funds later on. And we'll talk about kind of the timing of that.
How much is the design for this work, the design contract?
I don't have the exact dollar. It's like 3.3 million.
I have a question. When this first was happening, it was given as a package plant. And one of the things that everybody loved to say was that this package plant was going to be I'm oversimplifying, was going to be you have a package plant. So we have Lego 1 and we need to expand. So we just buy another Lego and we put the Lego in, and then we need to expand. We buy it, we put another one in. So the package plant could just be expanded. But now we're going to $3 million worth of redesign on a package plant.
Well, what you
Right.
have today is a package plant, but the goal had always been to go to a concrete basin plant. The package plant was driven by timing for AW Texas and other service commitments there. I don't think at least as far as I knew, the package plant was a timing issue, get into service and then replace it with a concrete basin.
Okay, that might have,
The phasing, phase two, I'm gonna jump on your comment again. I agree. Phase two was, my understanding was always going to be a second 250,000 gallons of the same design right next to each other.
I'm not sure about that because we went to a 0.625 plant in the permit. And the way it was always set up, even in the permit application, was to go to a concrete basin plant in the second phase.
I bring it up because I've had ratepayers ask me, and that was my own recollection because I know my memory is bad. That's why I take so many notes all over the place. I know it. But ratepayers have brought up ratepayers that didn't think we should go the wastewater route, which I disagree with that. We need to go the wastewater route. But they did have a good point that it was put out initially, this would be a package plant. And when we need to upgrade, we wouldn't have the $1 million, well, 3 point something million dollars in redesigning a plant because we were looking at the future. Now, I understand if something is dramatic, is like we need to go from 1 million to 10 million. Obviously, I don't think a package plant would fit that. And I mean, that's just me being me. But I do believe, and I believe Mr. Sherman is absolutely correct. The way it was postulated to the board was that the first expansion on this plant to take us above 1 million was going to be another modular system that would be put in. But now you're telling me, and from your look of shock that you just gave me, was that.
I know we
guess-
talked about that on Clearwater, is doing the second phase as a package plant, the Clearwater TPDS permit.
Now, this was ours because ratepayers specifically were mentioning it, and I had the same memory, and Mr. Sherman had the same. I don't know about the other board members. So I guess that's what we need to really harp on, which I love this presentation, and obviously you're going to continue it. That it's showing the ratepayers that we do have to expand our wastewater before we actually have the customers to do it. In this case, we are pulling or how's that saying go? You pull the cart before the horses or whatever. In that case, we have to, because we have to be prepared because they're not going to come and build if we can't give them the service. So I understand that part. But I think we have to explain a little bit more to the board, to myself, if not to them, to me, and to the ratepayers as to why we're going to redesign a package plant that we had before. And you said that we're changing our whole system is what you're saying? We're
Yeah, the
fundamentally
original-
changing the whole thing.
The original permit was set up on a sequence batch reactor plant. Going into this design, it was put into the design proposal to look at all options. That's what the operators and staff directed us to do. Wanted to look at all options and figure out what the best option was to move forward with, and that's what we've done.
Okay, all right,
So-
and I'm not gonna argue that it's the best option. I mean, yeah, that's your realm of magic, but I have to keep, because the ratepayers are gonna come back to us, and they're gonna say, this was supposed to be a package.
I'll
plant."
have to go back and look at presentations, but I don't recall ever.
Yeah, the package plant design, like Gary said, we went with what we have there today because of time constraints. We were under tremendous pressure and political pressure to make it happen. And so that was the fastest thing we could do, and we made it happen. Our goal has always been to have a more permanent plant there. If you continue just adding package after package after package, you have a temporary sewer plant. Yeah, some people do it that way, but I think the footprint that we have, the amount of acreage we have there as we build, the projection from many years to come, we'll have over 300,000 connections in our service area. I'm talking about not today, tomorrow, next week, or even 15 years from now, but 50 years from now, you'll be looking at that. So we have to build within our footprint there, the acreage that we have. The best way to provide that service and the amount of space that we have is go to different technology, more advanced technology, and we feel the MBR system is the way to go. So it gets us away from that package, that temporary system. And there's different opinions out there, which is better, which is this way. You could do it this way, you could do it that way. You'll always have those different opinions and comments out there. But the direction that we gave our engineers, and my understanding of the board at that time was, yes, let's move forward with this. We're going to look at the different technologies, and we chose to go the MBR. We also discussed that with staff, which I have here today, that have experience in those fields. And that's where we come up with our decisions to move forward in the type of design that we have.
So I've got a question. So in the permit, is the permit for both processes or a single process?
The permit today is set up on SBR. It's the original permit.
And the permit that would serve this facility, how would that be set up?
It would be, we would update to the MBR. That's why I brought up the permit renewal.
So
See-
I don't want to interrupt you, but I need to. So if our new permit is going to be an NBR only. Is that correct?
Well, we'll set up the documents for MBR, but TCEQ, as long as you're meeting your permit, they'll approve your plans. You have to turn in plans.
So we don't like the SBR, but if we proceed this way, we'll operate an SBR and an NBR.
It would be MBR.
Okay, so then what are we doing with $25 million worth of existing plant?
Well, the existing plant's $2 million of steel base and package plant.
But under current dollars, so on one of our previous presentations, we were told we're gonna need to borrow $45 million for the plant expansion. So roughly $40 a gallon. So if we've got, so I'm sorry, not 25 million, that's like, what, 11 million times 40 times 250,000 gallons, roughly 11 million. So what are we doing with $11 million worth of plant that we have a loan on? No, he just said
Yes,
the
I know.
permit will be the new style of treatment, not the old style of treatment.
We're saying
I'm
the old
not
plan
following.
is it is.
No, I mean, the,
So it's.
Well, but if our new permit goes to a different style of treatment,
for future phases, yes.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect the current.
No.
We can
Right.
mix it. That's what
Yeah.
you're asking, right?
so the
Yeah, as
permit
long as
will
we're
allow
meeting
us.
permit, TCEQ doesn't care what kind
So
of
we can
plant we
mix.
have.
Like, was that your question is?
Okay, I just
how
want to
do we
make
mix?
sure.
Yeah.
Because we can't just throw away.
No,
No.
and that was even a conversation when the Clearwater plant came up, is the potential to move the package plant from Santa Clara to Clearwater as a future expansion.
And the reason I ask that is because on a future slide here, everything is listed as phase one is 1.25 MGD, all the items in red.
Right. Phase one of the MBR, yeah.
Okay. I'm just confused. I want to make sure that we're not turning off and not using 250,000 gallons worth of capacity.
The potential is, and the conversation has been that that plant would probably get moved somewhere else in the district in the future, whether that's Clearwater or somewhere else.
Well, then we lose capacity here where we need it.
That's why you're building 1.25. And the goal is to try to get away from a steel base and package plant. And
I
not
agree
run-
eventually. It was my understanding that the phase two would be copy and paste of the design, so we wouldn't have a lot of design cost. Because for this, this board's still gonna be asked to approve $45 million worth of additional debt, which I don't think we should borrow that much money. And if there's a way we can provide additional treatment, even if it doesn't get us as long down the road, we can update our development fees, start drawing in more money tied to the development and do another phase down the road. That's what always my understanding was. It seems we were skipping a phase here.
Please continue.
So the next slide, David. So we delivered the feasibility study and we've done a couple of site visits with staff. Delivered that feasibility study in April of 2023. We were given direction to go with the MBR plant. We're on 30% design now. We're in that process and our goal is to deliver 30% design. I think it's the third week in October. Design survey has been completed. We've done a complete as-built of all the site and everything that's out there. Geotech exploration and recommendations have just been finished. We got the final report late last week. We're coordinating with Cibolo and San Antonio River Authority on flood studies. San Antonio River Authority has just studied the Santa Clara all the way up to I-10. So that will take some of our design responsibility off. And basically, once we see that report, I think we'll be able to use their flood study instead of having to do our own. So hopefully that works out for everyone. We've had a pre-development meeting with the city of Cibolo to start the development process, and we know what they're expecting moving the project forward. Next couple of slides, I showed the overall site plan, and then the next one is just zoomed in a little bit more because that one's a little bit hard to see. And we've color coded everything that's in red is phase one of the MBR process. Shaded to the back is the existing package plant over to the right and kind of middle of the page. So this gives you the idea of what a 10 MGD plant would look like on that site and staying out of the floodplain and other constraints that we have on the site to move that forward.
Real quick,
Yes.
1.25, 45 million, right? That's what we're hearing.
And for each
Still early.
Still early, but tentatively
for
for,
each design phase,
argument
we'll put
right
together
now
a
is-
cost estimate and that
Okay,
we're working on
so-
the 30%
But a lot
design.
of that, Pat, correct, that 45 million, a lot of it gets reimbursed through developer, correct?
Kayak fees.
Bond.
Yeah.
We were told
It's a
we need to
bond.
borrow 45 million.
But the impact fee, kayak fees, all that, would it be?
He's looking.
Pat. He's Googling the answer.
Yeah.
I can't Google, can't Google.
All right, so just so I can put retrospect to what the diagram shows, 145 million buys you just the red, right?
Correct.
Okay, so the full build out at the 10 million gallons, which is pretty much all the colors added up into it. So we're to assume it's about $500 million just in that location.
It's a long way.
Future.
And I'm future, but I'm just trying to make,
That's into the 2030s.
I know, but I'm just trying to gauge, that locations total.
Real numbers will be by then.
You're right. You're absolutely right. But I just want to make sure if what we're investing in, as far as just the red only, to me, seeing it, does that really justify 45 million? So,
Well, it's John, I understand what you're going at, but the cost of building treatment is increasing. And that's, when I saw the first numbers, that's when I was able to kind of extrapolate the capacity that we were going to. It is $40 a gallon is the current going rate for. Used to be
20.
16.
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Not 30.
Yeah, so it
but
is.
this
it
is just
going up.
location only. This is not
Yeah,
piping infrastructure
This is,
or anything else outside of that plat,
Right.
correct?
that's correct.
See,
Well,
that's,
Can
Thing to remember,
can you dumb it down for me a little bit? What this projection is asking is that we take the existing plant, move it, place it somewhere else?
You have the option to. You don't have to, but you could in the future move it to.
Well, it seems
a
like that's the
different-
plan, because based on these site plans, we're calling phase 1.25. I mean, that seems like the plan. If that's the plan, just tell us, because that sounds like.
That's the
Whoa,
discussion that we've had on the staff level.
yeah,
is-
I
that's,
think that would be cost effective if
That's-
we can find a way to make that happen.
the plans you came up with 5 years ago may not work today, 10 years from now, or even 15. So that was always a plan. That's a package plan. It's, in our minds, it's a temporary start of a new business for Green Valley. You got to remember, we're not even talking about the infrastructure that we just finished also has projections and future use in it as well. We sized the infrastructure to get us to a certain level without having to add a second trunk line, additional easements, additional infrastructure, additional costs. As development happens, we'll build into these plans. We're not going to go out and build a plan of 1.25 million and sit back and wait for development to come. It happens over time. There's a timeline in there where we have certain things to perform by TCEQ regulations to have something designed and ready for that growth. Now, if growth shuts down, then our timeline changes.
What are the TCQ percentages?
I don't know what those are off the top of my head, but,
They're 75% of.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
slide. You can go back.
Yeah.
Slide
So
three.
what I'm trying to say is this is a plan for the future as we're moving forward. We're in design. We have anticipated growth coming our way. We have to get prepared for that. What the costs are gonna be, we won't know until we go out to bid or get those numbers and our final design determined before we can tell you what those costs are gonna be. We're not asking for any of that today. This is an update to where we are with our design for our anticipated growth that's coming to the district.
You're correct, but we do need to consider those costs down the road, because
Sure we do.
if we continue down the road, we're at 30% now. If we continue down the road, spend all the time to design this, well, then it's like we've been kind of put in a corner before, where you gotta borrow this money because we gotta do it now. This is what the design is. Where I think we could save a ton of money in the interim, let some of the development fees come in and help us.
A lot of our development fees are based on the projections of the growth coming to us, like our impact fees, our kayak fees that we're reevaluating now, based on anticipated growth and to a degree. Our water acquisition fee as well. So yes, development will help pay for those things. Yeah, we'll be the one going out for the bonds. That's our obligation, but those will be paid for as development comes to our system. That's how we've operated for 60 years. And it works.
the major concern I have is the timeline coming up. We're quickly approaching some serious deadlines.
Yes.
If it's gonna take 4 years to design and construction completion, by your anticipated completion dates, the majority of those are 2028. We're entering 2024. That's 4 years. So
Well,
Gary, is a permanent concrete structure, a quicker or a slower process than the package plants, similar to what we have?
package plan is much, much quicker. They'll build it in Houston and drive it, bring it over here on trucks. But it has a very short lifespan
About
typically.
20 years.
If everything's perfect.
what is your prediction for a date? And I'm not asking you for a solid date. I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire. But if we need to hit that 1.25 GPD to be able to service these houses coming in 2028, what is the deadline that this board could potentially be asked to approve this project?
Well, what was shown in the rate study is debt in 2025. So you need to start construction in 2025. Now, you may have capitalized interest
But
that
you
pushes
said the
that
design
payment.
took 2 years.
Well, we're in that 2 years. We started in November. So we're eating away that,
Gotcha. I
that schedule.
apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Is the design of the existing facility, and it's 100% as it is right now, if we were to take the existing facility and replicate it, we would have minimal design work to interact the influent effluent lines, make sure, I know,
Yeah,
I went out there one time and our disc filters, we have 3, there's blanks for 2. So I
Right.
mean, the initial phase was designed for addition.
The initial phase was to use those components in the 0.625 SBR plant. That way we don't have to buy new basins. So that was the goal then, and we can still use those basins. But if you're gonna move that plant somewhere, you're gonna have to have. The, the,
So
we
what,
need a taller microphone. I think.
what do you
Yeah.
need from the board today?
At this point, nothing. I mean, we're moving forward with 30% design and that's the direction we were given.
Thank you so
The-
much for this information. Directors, any other
The-
questions? I
The
know
challenge
This
is,
is just the initial phase of this.
the,
So
the challenge is timing. I mean, we have no control over development and it's gonna continue to, I mean, we're seeing master plans come in every day.
When is gonna be the anticipated quarter, Q1, Q2, Q3 of next year for the anticipated bond approval for the build out?
We're scheduling a meeting with Texas Water Development Board to see when their project information forms are need to be in. I think it's in May to be on the intended use plan for the next 2-year cycle. So it will be in the spring whenever we need to start talking about that. But we've already had one call with Water Development Board on how to, if you decide to go to Water Development Board, what are their timelines?
Yeah.
Because they've cut some programs and have new programs coming out. So we're trying to stay on top of that to know what the best option is.
Yeah, thank you.
Luckily on this site, environmental's been cleared, so we don't have to go through that year-long process.
as long as the floodplain maps come out okay, right?
Well, the floodplain doesn't have any bearing on the environmental part. The floodplain boundaries, we want to stay out of those with our development, or if we need to reclaim, then that's an additional study that has to be submitted through FEMA and City of Cibolo in this case. As far as environmental, we've cleared, whenever we did the environmental in the original project, we cleared the whole 65 acres, so we can do anything we need to do out there.
Thank
And
you.
that was the goal at that point.
Your 100-year floodplain's noted on your site plan, so we should be in good shape, right?
You would think so, but that did not come out of the Cibolo development meeting.
All right, directors, any other questions, concerns? Mr. Montgomery, thank you so much for
Thank you.
putting this together. This is
Yeah.
some incredible information. It is now 10:52. We're gonna take a quick 10-minute break and come back at 11:02 at the latest. All right? All right, it's still 11:03. We're back in session. We need to back up to I'm not sure which item. This E1, I apologize. Ms. Miller?
So we missed, we needed to talk about the date for the November meeting. We forgot. So Pat, do you want to take that on?
Yeah, what, at the, Christina came to me just for the meeting, talking about the November meeting. Last December, Cody sent out a calendar for all the dates for this year that we're in now. And we had chose November 22nd, which is a Wednesday, which is the day before Thanksgiving. But I don't think we formally approved these dates. I think is what Christina is thinking. I thought when we sent this calendar out, that was acknowledgement to y'all. That's what we're going to do. So it's not on the agenda today, but I'll put it on the agenda for next month to move the November meeting to the 22nd. That also coincides with I believe, November the 20th, which is a Monday of that week, is the canvassing of the votes. And so we'll have a meeting that day to canvass the votes, get prepared for our meeting on the 22nd, where we can swear in the new candidates or the new board members, and then go into our board meeting, if that's okay with this board
The official is the November 21st.
of canvassing.
That's what it says on here.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it's actually the 20th.
Okay.
That date kind of moves around sometimes. We don't know what it's going to be. But I think the last word Tracy got was going to be the Monday, that 20th.
Okay.
Either way, it'll be done before the board meeting.
Christie, on the sheet you brought in, what was the December meeting adjustment?
December 14th.
I'll have Cody send that back out to everybody so they have it fresh.
Making sure I added them in here right.
So for the October board meeting, we'll have an agenda item to formally establish the November board meeting.
Okay.
All right, anything
it.
else?
That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Let's move on to item F, consider charitable sponsorship to Guadalupe County Youth Livestock and Homemakers Show contribution and take action as necessary. Mr. Frias?
Yes, sir. So based on this year's budget of what we've sponsored and supported the community with, the committee via email wanted to move forward with this one. This is our last one for the year. We have not exceeded the budget. No, we haven't even gotten close. And we've only used probably about 15, not even 20% of the budget. So it is our recommendation that we go with the $2,500 donation to the Guadalupe County Youth Livestock Show. So I'll make a motion for that.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
So I make a motion for that we go with the $2,500 sponsorship for the Guadalupe County Youth Livestock and Homemaker Show.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Frias. Appreciate your work on that.
And if we can please get that check processed under this fiscal year's and not next. Thank you.
Item G, review the non-standard water wastewater service agreements provided by Green Valley SUD Legal and take action as necessary. Do we have any today?
No, sir, we don't. We can bypass that.
Okay.
That should have been taken off, but
All right,
in case something came up, we left it on there.
nothing to act on. Item H, consider an act on a resolution 2023-9A authorizing an application to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for the approval of wastewater projects and the issuance of bonds to finance said projects and take action as necessary.
What I'm asking for today is just approval for y'all to sign this agreement. Y'all actually took action on this last month out of executive session to authorize the general manager to move forward with the funding of that Excalibur loan. This just formalizes that action. It's an informed resolution, which is required. We still have to do other things before we close that loan, which we brought back to the board at a future board meeting. There's some other actions that'll happen before it actually is finalized, I guess what I'm saying.
So at last month's meeting, I asked about the amortization schedule.
Yes, and I'll have that, I'm gonna hand that out to you. We have some other discussions on that in executive session, item J, I believe it is.
So we're not authorizing the funds, we're just authorizing the application.
So we-
Let's move this forward with the approval that y'all gave us last month, with the continue on that path to close that loan.
Can we
Yes, sir.
jump to item J before we take action
We're
on
gonna,
H?
we're gonna talk about this in executive session. Let's go talk about it.
Before we make a
before we
decision
take
on
action.
H?
Well, let me just reiterate again, y'all already approved this action that's described in that resolution at last month's board meeting.
So no action on this today.
Just the application.
Just for your acknowledgement, y'all are asking for your signature on this
Mr. Baker,
resolution
we're gonna
today.
talk about H in executive session. Let's talk about it before we take action on H.
Um,
Not asking for action on H, right?
Well,
He's
yeah,
authorizing the
we are.
application.
We are
We're
asking
asking for a motion approving this resolution. What this resolution does, and it was drafted by our bond counsel, it authorizes, this is something that needs to be a resolution approving, a resolution authorizing the district to petition to the TCEQ for approval for a bond issuance is a prerequisite that has to be in the package for when Gary submits the petition and request to the TCQ. He has to have this resolution as part of the package.
And to
Technicality, yes.
further explain that, if you look in the minutes, under item O, previous motion to approve item O based on discussion during executive session to authorize general manager to take necessary steps to proceed with the wastewater funding, Excalibur loan. King seconded, Sherman and Cooper moved to a roll call vote. That action prompted this resolution needed to be signed and approved. So yes, I am asking for approval of the resolution.
Correct, but that was under the understanding that we would get the amortization schedule to educate us before we get to the resolution.
That
And we didn't have that,
We
so
can
if
go
we're
to
getting that in
we can
executive
bring this to
session.
Executive session.
There's no prohibition on bringing this into executive session if you want to discuss.
So
like the
let's go to
legal
executive session for that
implications.
one. We'll jump back to H after we talk about it.
That's fine.
So there's no action on H?
No, we're gonna hold off on H. We're gonna.
We're gonna talk about it in executive session.
We are going to discuss that along with item J in executive session.
All right.
And then Shan, can you describe how we can not have the amortization schedule in our packet, but we can look at it in executive session, just so make sure we're doing it right? What section covers that?
Well, we're talking about the wastewater financing, which is listed as item J, and we're talking about, any legal questions you might have about this issue. We discussed it at length, as you all know, last month, but if there are additional discussions that need to be take place and they involve seeking my advice or me giving you advice, then it's a legitimate issue to take into executive session under .071.
7-1, because we asked for the amortization schedule. I just asked again, Pat said we can have it in executive session, so 071 covers the amortization schedule of a potential loan, is that correct?
The intent was to hand out the amortization schedule in item J as we discussed the additional components of this financing, if there's any additional questions.
There's no prohibition.
So I held
against-
that.
There's no prohibition against handing it out now. I think they were just looking at an efficient way of getting you the information.
So we can have it in, I just wanted to look at it because I'm gonna get handed it back there. I'm not gonna have time to review it, so. Let's just go talk about it. Stan, is this an allowable action to go back there and talk about this?
As long as we're talking about legal issues, that's fine. If you want to have a debate about whether to do this at all, which I thought you already authorized the general manager to go forward, then I don't see how that can be done in executive session, because unless there's some sort of legal issue that you want to talk to me about.
We're still gonna have to come out of executive session and still vote on this.
That's correct.
So,
I'm just making sure we're doing it right. It wasn't picking at you. I don't know.
If I sounded offensive, I wasn't. I was trying to explain my point of view. Like, we can be flexible here, whatever it's whatever the board's preference
I
is.
ask every time we go in executive session, what section it's under.
all right, let's move on. Item I, Shan, any reports on pending threatened litigation, legal changes affecting the district?
There is no known threatened litigation or pending litigation or changes affecting the district. I'll give an update on pending litigation in executive session under item L.
All right, thank you. Staff, any other concerns before we go into executive session? All right, then we are adjourned at 11:14 into executive session right away, please. Recess, sorry, recess. It's now 12:11. We are back in session. We need to go back to item H. Mr. Frias?
Okay, so based on the conversations we've had in executive session, considering item H, I make a motion to approve the general manager to move forward with the application to the TCEQ and get the final numbers to us once all that's done. Yeah. So consider an act on the resolution of 2023-9A authorizing the application of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality for the approval of the wastewater projects and the issuance of bond to finance said projects with the condition that we get the information and then we move on to the next step.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, discussion.
Discussion. So, amortization schedule. Amortization schedule is not an executive document. If you have it, put it in our packet, please. Have it, mark it as a draft. If it's not final, put the information in our packet so that we can review it. Also, I'd like you to verify the terms of this loan to make sure we understand, is it a 40-year or a 30-year loan?
Will do.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but based on the discussions, this is not the final step. We have one more step to go. And at that point, we can make the final determination.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
We have, I'm sorry, without Mr. King.
4-1.
We have 5 in
Yeah.
in support and 1 nay, Mr. Sherman. Thank you. No other items coming out of executive session.
There was item K.
I apologize. Correct. Mr. Frias, would you like to take that one?
So based on discussions during executive session, I make a motion to approve the developer's request to release the Green Valley Water CCN service area in approximately 8.45 acres near County Line Road in New Braunfels, Texas, under, let's see, to mirror the similar past financial agreements and financial compensation with past water CCN releases.
Second.
Motion and a second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I voted yes. I voted yes.
I
didn't
assumed.
speak it in my mic.
That's where the unanimous part came.
That's where the unanimous
Okay.
part came in. All right, let's move on. Consideration and possible action items discussed in executive session is complete. Consideration of proposed items to be included on next month's board meeting agenda.
I have 2. I want a discussion action item on the wastewater treatment plant expansion phasing and a discussion action item on the
Okay,
November.
wait, back up. Wastewater phasing. Can you explain your requests?
Capacity phasing.
Capacity, looking for,
Board decision on capacity increase.
I
Of the
still don't
wastewater.
understand what you're asking for.
Oh, the size of the expansion.
Size of the expansion was 1.25 MGD was the expansion.
That's the presentation we got today. Yes, sir.
What else were you looking for?
I'd like the board to decide how big a plant to expand.
We don't get to vote that, do we?
Put it on the agenda, which I just did.
Shan, help me with this one.
I'm thinking.
We can only vote on money.
There's no, you all have already approved design and the financing has already been issued for that design, and that's what's going on now. It sounds like there's a desire to revisit the plan.
Necessity of the plan?
No, we need a plan. I just want to make sure this board, not previous board, understand what the needs are, what we want it to expand to, because we have to subsequently pay for it. So this is not a discussion. we'll talk about it next month. A discussion action item on the phase.
I need to be able to put it as an actionable item if you're looking to bring it before the board. So what's the action?
Discussion action item on the phasing of the treatment plant expansion.
And again, I need you to describe phasing of
Gallons?
the
Yeah,
gallon.
volume, capacity.
Capacity.
Capacity phasing, is that what we need, we want me to say?
Directors, help me. I'm
I think
being
it's
stupid here.
capacity level. The initial. Again, I believe what Mr. Sherman's getting at is, right now, phase 2 is 1.25. Is that, I guess, appropriate for the current growth rate and the needs? Is that what you're trying to get?
That was the
Okay.
report that Mr. Montgomery gave that showed the necessity.
Right, we also got new information that apparently we're planning to move the 250,000 gallon facility elsewhere, which was news. So
What does that have to do with the phasing?
Capacity.
it's the
It
capacity.
goes
of
back
the
to
plant.
capacity of. the
Previous
plant.
discussions, when I've asked about it, we were gonna go to a 1.5 million gallon total capacity because of a 1.25. And this is discussion. This,
How?
I,
I tell you what, Mr. Sherman,
I'll
let's do
explain
this.
it. Yeah, I'm happy to explain it.
Well, let's explain it later. We'll put it on the agenda and we'll talk about it
Yeah,
then.
let's, Nick, I really want to get
yeah,
your questions answered here and your concerns. Give my stupidity, if you could email me what you need, and then I'll work with staff to make sure that we get that. If you want it as an action item, then I need to know what action you want to take.
yeah, I can,
on
do it.
that.
And maybe.
And then
maybe,
we'll go over agenda
legal
review
counsel
and we'll
can
talk about it
explain
then.
Exactly.
How this is a conflict of interest to me in writing an email.
That's,
Okay, so moving on, what's your other item?
Can we do that?
I can't do it tomorrow because I'm
No, that's
going
fine.
out of the country
When you
for
can.
3 weeks.
When you can,
say
but
Okay.
Nick, what was the other item you had?
The November, December meeting date that Christie brought up.
oh, yeah, that changes.
The November date, yes, not the December.
Did we already pay for
The
the November date?
date?
Are we gonna vote for both of them at next meeting?
I just say do it while we're
Okay.
doing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so then put November and December's meeting to change the date.
All right.
That's all I had.
And
Anything
then
else?
Pat, Sam, we have the workshop
No
next
explanation
month
necessary.
for the development process, correct? Okay, do we have a date locked in yet? We had a week, the second week of October. In the afternoon, right?
More mics.
Yeah.
Second week of October?
The
The second week of October is what was requested. And for it to be a PM workshop, starting around 5:30 or 6 is what was recommended.
I won't be here that week, so,
Okay.
I mean, y'all can have it without me. If everybody else can be here, don't worry about it, but I'll be out of town for most of that week.
And that was we're trying to shoot for an hour, 2 hours max, we're not going over. We just want the good rundown of how the processes are done. You have everything ready. Can you just get us a date as soon as you can?
Yes, sir. Are there any dates that the board knows that they're not going to be available for the second week of October? Because then that will help me. I can also just send out an email after this.
You can just send an email.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's email.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah,
I'll get one out today. Thank you.
thanks. Anything else, directors? All right. If that's all, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Good.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at 12:20. Thank you.